All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Happy Wednesday. This is Michelle Benjamin from AUDIENCEX. And this is our Webinar Wednesday series, the first one from home. So going to see how this goes. Apologies in advance if we have any technical or audio issues. We had a few challenges while we were practicing of Zoom crashing. Hopefully that does not happen while we're doing this. But we are recording this and we'll be sharing the recording link out with everyone. If you have any questions at any point, feel free to use the Q&A or chat buttons and we will be answering them all at the end. Our topic today is increasing your ROI with high impact mobile advertising. So we are joined by Joe Horine. He's our Senior Director of Strategy at AUDIENCEX. You may remember him if you've joined any of our previous webinars. He knows a lot about everything, and today he's walking us through mobile advertising. And with that, I will pass it over to Joe.
Thanks, Michelle, and thank you everyone for joining. Hopefully you guys are all staying safe and sane in the quarantine. I'm a big fan of this format because there's even less pressure to share a video. So we're going to be focused on the deck. Obviously, as Michelle mentioned, please don't hesitate to add any questions you might have in the QA. If I see them, I'll kind of pause and try to address them in real time. Otherwise, we will have plenty of time at the end to answer any questions you may have. Agenda for the day. We're going to try to really quickly hit on really these 5 things. We'll start with a brief introduction for why high impact mobile and why it's important. We've got, I think, one slide on just the different types of user interactions, and we did our best to try to get as many as possible. There's probably going to be some that aren't on the list, but there's a number of new ones that are coming out very, very frequently. We've got some example of ad formats that will give you a kind of a live look at what an ad or a user experience might look like. And then we'll quickly hit on the benefits of high impact mobile after reviewing all of that, and then kind of quickly touch on when high impact makes sense. So first off, I always like to start with a brief definition of what we're actually talking about when we say high impact mobile or high impact. So quick read from the slide, breaking every presenter's rule number 1, but high impact ad formats are designed to be interactive and encourage brand engagement among consumers through multiple touch points and placements that consider the mobile and tablet behavior patterns of consuming content and overall user experience. There are going to be a number of crossovers between what some folks call rich media and what is considered high impact. The biggest thing that we tend to look for within high impact is actually something that happens that's user initiated based on an engagement within an ad. Before we kind of hit on what do these units actually look like, I think it's important to touch on why are we talking about high impact mobile? And there's really 3 reasons. The first reason is that it's everywhere. The chart on the right here shows how many smartphone video viewers there are starting in last year and then moving up to 2023. And the biggest trend that you'll notice is that red line. 80% or 8 in 10 US smartphone users are already watching digital mobile video. And it's a pretty large chunk of the population. Beyond that, we know that the average US adult spends around 40 minutes a day watching mobile video, and 1 in 5 of those people are watching more than an hour. Some of the most popular content that's led to this increase is OTT, or over-the-top inventory. For anyone who joined kind of our previous webinars, and I think we'll be talking about this in the future, OTT, CTV, advanced TV, whatever the heck acronym you're using these days, it's super popular for obvious reasons, especially during the quarantine. OTT is really the mobile desktop and tablet version of connected TV inventory, and people are watching more of it. The last call out here is 83% of mobile viewing minutes are spent watching programs that are 21 minutes or longer. So it's not just people watching kind of quick hitting ads, jumping on YouTube for a 5-minute video. There is a large chunk of the population who's watching really long form content, be that TV shows, be that much longer video series on their mobile device. Second, obviously these impacts are organically engaging. Some quick stats outside of the ad environment, but just on how much we're actually interacting with our phones. The average user touches their phone over 2,500 times a day. 69% of all digital time is spent on a mobile device. An average, people are spending around 310 minutes on a smartphone. I don't know if you've got the latest iOS, but they've so graciously added the feature to tell you how much time you're spending on your screen, which can sometimes be a little depressing, especially as we're spending more and more time indoors lately. And then the third reason that we're talking about high impact mobile is that the ads are just effective. Estimates say that roughly 60% of all mobile banner ads are actually accidental clicks. Now, platforms will be able to kind of recognize those patterns and optimize out of them, but there still is a high propensity for, as you're scrolling, especially on a mobile device, to just accidentally click on a banner ad that you didn't really mean to, you have no general interest in, leading to kind of a poor experience for the user, right? And a waste of money for the advertiser. The other piece here, consumers are going to be 10 times more likely to remember an ad if it's, number one, in view, and number two, they actually physically engage with it. So we've got a little example over here of what one of these high impact units might look like. Obviously, feels just like a video ad, but the ability to click on that shop collection really shows that users, when they are interested, want to engage with it. You can see as you scroll down the page, you also get the choice to choose between men and women, and even view different products that Nike is marketing. As you continue to scroll down, the ad stays in view, and you get a final reminder to shop that Nike collection. So we'll go through some more examples, but just a quick recap, the three reasons why we want to focus and why we're even talking about high impact mobile is that it's everywhere. It's where people are already using their devices. It's organically engaging for obvious reasons based on the ad unit, and then it's just straight up effective. In terms of the different types of user interactions, here's kind of that brief snapshot. What we just kind of saw there was a combination of probably the top left user-initiated video, and then maybe a little bit of the one right below it, which has some different swipe functionality. Some of the other more popular ones, I say the one that we probably see the most is that top right feature, where you're tapping on an ad to have something change within it. There are a number of different varieties that aren't included on this slide, but these are the ones that we think are the most relevant and where we've got some examples to kind of walk everyone through. So the first format we're going to look at here is the swipe. So let's start with the ad on the very right, where we see some of the rising hot air balloons. You can learn more, obviously, and then swipe up on that ad to kind of learn more, see what else they have to offer. Jumping to the ad on the left or in the middle of your screen for Tax Group Center, it gives you the prompt there to swipe up. As you do, it engages that learn more and a quick video. In terms of the capabilities, typically as far as KPIs are going, we're looking for that general awareness play. How many unique people can we reach? We're also able to measure the engagement, how many people are actually engaging with the ad, and then the good old-fashioned click-through rate. As far as description, we kind of quickly went through that, but the user is prompted to swipe up, left, down, right to opt into an ad experience. And then optimal, we don't want to go any longer than 30 seconds. 15 seconds is the recommended length. Users that have the 60-second spot, the 45-second spot, asking a user to engage with something and then watch any longer than 30 seconds is a pretty big ask. So we typically look for that shorter end, 15 seconds, quick hitting. If they do want to learn more, they'll jump to your page. Videos can be horizontal or vertical. Nothing definitive on one being more effective than the other. Kind of depends on what the full experience of the ad unit looks like. This next ad is an example of another swipe from The Lion King. So obviously, to watch a preview in this case, you're swiping up on the ad there, and then it launches into a little bit longer than we typically probably recommend here for maybe a 30-second promo. But again, similar experience, kind of get that preview right in your hand as opposed to sending someone to your homepage or YouTube to watch that Lion King ad. Again, we're looking for that 15-second spot. Sound is autoplay once the user opts into the ad experience, which is great. Obviously, because you're going to be less engaged and have less of a takeaway, especially for a movie promo like this, if there's no sound. Tap and hold is the next example. You click in to see which video launches first. Looks like it's that Mardi Gras one. As you kind of tap and hold, it takes you to a little bit more information on how you can book tickets to, obviously, this Mardi Gras y'all experience. If we go to the option on the right there for Call of Duty Modern Warfare, see if that'll click for me. There it goes. We're tapping and holding to get a little bit of a preview of their multiplayer, which for you non-gamers out there, Call of Duty has one of the most historic and expansive multiplayer offerings. Huge game that comes out really every year with some iteration. Obviously a little bit on the violent side, so that is for a mature audience. But as far as ad experiences go, that is eye-catching, it's engaging, it's memorable, and it's super easy to kind of get going. Again, for these ones, that sound is going to play when users do opt in. And as far as KPIs, we're on a pretty similar thread here. Awareness and CTR being kind of the two more traditional ones, the number of engagements being that a little bit more unique offering for high impact mobile. In terms of user choice, in this one, the user is actually prompted to make a specific selection for what they would like to see. As you can see there on the right, this is a Happy Honda Days ad. So you can pick which gift you'd like to unwrap, and that'll launch you into something unique. These ones are obviously a little bit different because you have to have multiple videos ready queued up. 15 seconds is the max length, only because it's a lot of information to house in kind of one unit. KPIs are going to be the exact same. I do like this example because it gives you a couple different options, right? We saw a little bit of background on the car. We also see in that last example that we quickly scrolled through there, kind of a Find My Dealer option. So you're getting a little bit of variety in this ad unit as well. And hopefully, if a client is really, really interested in Honda, they'll swipe through all three of them. So you get the two car promos, you can get to the Find My Dealer option. It gives us a lot of versatility in an ad unit that other units just can't really compete with. Gamification is something that will continue to be really, really popular in all forms of advertising. This is obviously a promo on the right here for The Mandalorian, where you're playing kind of like a scratch-off lotto game to see if you can find Baby Yoda. And it obviously was the last one that you found. So with these types of gamification ads, obviously, if you are already interested in The Mandalorian, you're caught in right there. Just asking you kind of to play the game along with it just further, I'll say, pushes that engagement. And then obviously for Disney Plus being a streaming service, they're able to promote kind of that free trial, which is great. Obviously those free trials are a great tool for all of these streaming platforms that have paid options to get users in the door. So you've got something that's eye-catching with The Mandalorian that a lot of people were talking about right when it came out. Quick little game here that's a scratch off. Hey, you found Baby Yoda, which was a huge piece of promo. Another quick preview for the show. And then their call to action is, hey, check this show out for yourself. Get a free trial from us. Again, we're looking for that 15-second ad length here. KPIs are going to be very, very similar, awareness, engagement, and CTR. Product carousels. So if you've been on Instagram, obviously the carousel ad is an incredibly popular one. This buzzball ad here to the right is an example of how carousel ads look in a high impact mobile format. In this specific example, you've got some video in the top section as you're able to explore the different flavors that Buzzball offers in the bottom section. And then at the very bottom, if you can see that, you're actually able to find a store where you can then go and make this purchase for yourself. So a lot of different things going on in that ad. These are ones that I think the 30-second length actually is potentially more effective for, since you've got so many different things for a user to potentially be engaging with, whether that's the ad in the top section, whether if they're scrolling through to kind of understand which of the different flavors they might want to try. And ultimately, what I think to be the most effective is how often are people finding a store to go make this purchase. Buzzballs is an interesting example of a client who may want to be tracking multiple things. So the KPI for this specific ad may be, hey, we want to understand how many times people are clicking find a store. We're also able to help Buzzballs or clients like them set up foot traffic attribution to understand, hey, X number of people saw these ads. We actually saw, using a test and control, I'm just going to make up a number here, a 50% lift in foot traffic based on these ads. So outside of just the awareness, engagement, CTR KPIs, we are able to layer in additional tracking. In this case, because these are only available within stores, foot traffic attribution seems like a slam dunk choice. Jumping down to just general store locators. Obviously, Steak and Shake, probably not open in most places right now. But in a more normal set of circumstances, being able to have users find a store either closest to them or around them is a fantastic way of driving actual results for a marketing campaign. So we can look at that foot traffic attribution piece. That's typically with an external vendor who will help with that. We are able to see the click-through rate, how many people are clicking on the ads, and then again, the engagement, how many people actually used this find a map function. The only additional layer here is obviously that we need to be able to sync with whatever map app users are using on their phone. So it takes into account their current location. We have some information from the stores on where their locations are. And then obviously we sync those two things together to hopefully get someone to peruse their way over to the offline location. In this one, obviously you'll notice that it starts as a full screen ad and then the map continues to be within that environment. 30-second, probably a little bit on the long end for this, especially because user who then watches the 30-second ad and types in where the location is, it's a pretty long engagement for just one ad unit. Sound, obviously auto included, horizontal or vertical are both usable. So that's kind of a quick snapshot of all of the different unit types, engagement types, how they may be used, some of the KPIs, what you may be looking to include, just a quick snapshot of some of the more popular ones. I do want to hit on briefly kind of the two biggest benefits of high impact mobile. Obviously, as you saw, all of those units are highly in view. They're completely ineffective if they're not in view, obviously. So being able to be front and center with a unit that is engagement with that unit in a highly viewable environment is one of the easiest benefits for why this is such an effective tactic and channel. The other piece is that strong performance. Obviously, just using a CTR, comparing standard display is relatively limited. We know that some of those clicks are going to be accidental. We don't know if they end up really engaged with the unit, if they're just curious. Being able to measure the number of engagements, being able to see that, okay, cool, they spent this much time interacting with our unit, just gives us that additional layer of confidence that these units are really effective and really hitting home with our target. And then obviously the biggest reason that these are effective is that opt-in functionality. So it's not a pop-up ad of days old. It's actually encouraging for a user, hey, if you want to learn more, opt in, swipe up, swipe left, tap and hold, all the different things we just walked through to really let the user kind of control that experience. When high impact makes sense, this is probably the question we get asked the most. So if you want to look at this sample funnel here, 4 steps, we've got general awareness. It's going to be tough for consumers to buy your product if they don't know you exist. CTR being that second step, we're at least showing some level of engagement or interest with whatever it is you're marketing. Further engagement, which could mean a number of things. For a standard display, we have to use engagement on the site. Can we track and stay with that person who clicked on an ad, hit the site? Did they view multiple pages? How long were they on there? Really anything that site analytics are able to provide us. And then obviously that sales lift piece is what most marketers are the most interested in understanding. How much business am I driving, or what lift in sales am I getting for every dollar of marketing that I'm spending? Luckily for us, these high impact units can play at any and all of these stages very, very well. Their eye-catching nature really gives them a bump and an advantage in the awareness stage. Comparing a standard display banner ad versus even a video ad compared to these high impact units, you're getting the best of both of those worlds with a high impact unit. In terms of CTR, when we're talking about driving site traffic, again, that standard banner is super useful in terms of what it's able to offer, but we're just able to get a lot more sophisticated in what we're looking at and what we're measuring with these high impact units. Engagement is pretty self-explanatory. We know that these units encourage engagement. They look flashier, they've got more functionality, they're going to stand out more. So it's able to start playing on the lower level of the funnel as well. And then for sales lift, obviously not very many people are seeing an ad for the first time, clicking that ad, and then buying whatever that product is promoting. These high impact units still are just going to be that extra level to really hopefully snag someone who's either on the fence, maybe they haven't heard of your product, but are then able to engage and learn more in one ad unit. as opposed to having to go to a website, click on a couple different pages, all of the general steps that we would expect the user to take when starting from ground zero. So it's tough to find a unit that's as versatile as high impact with its ability to play at all stages of the funnel. But we strongly believe that depending on how much organic awareness you have, what type of ad engagement or unit you're using, and ultimately what your business and communication objectives are, high impact mobile can play a role in reaching any stage of the funnel. The only other piece that I'll say that kind of didn't touch on in any of this is just the expense piece. So obviously these units are going to be a little bit more in high demand with a little bit less in terms of available inventory, which obviously means the CPM is going to be a little bit more expensive. So despite all of the kind of general benefits of high impact mobile, we still strongly encourage kind of a balance with the standard display unit, standard video unit. Obviously all of the other marketing efforts you're probably already doing, like search and social. High impact mobile could be effective standing on its own, but obviously the more channels that you're running to have kind of that synergistic halo impact on each other, the better your overall ROAS and eventually a little bit further down the line, your ROI on marketing is going to be. So I'll stop there. If we have any questions, I'd be happy to kind of take them. We've got about 8 minutes left. Michelle, any questions so far? Let me see if I can click into more. Go ahead and stop sharing my screen. We've got one question. Michelle got kicked out, so the technical difficulties continue. I guess it wouldn't be a webinar if there weren't some level of technical difficulty. So let's see, the first question we've got here is, when would you recommend high impact units and what budget allocation do you typically see? So I kind of touched on that briefly in the last piece that I covered. If you do have, kind of an overall budget and you're looking for an allocation, I'd really kind of want to understand what your business and communication objectives are before blindly suggesting a split between, say, standard banner, video units, and high impact units. In terms of any best practices, that's also a tough one to kind of dive into. Every unique advertising opportunity is going to have different goals, objectives, history. One of the things that I'm always the most curious about is what type of organic awareness do you have in the market right now? So basically, are you seeing 10 unique people hit your site a week? Obviously, a high impact unit is going to be great for that awareness play, but you're going to be paying a premium. We might want to start with a little bit more of a widespread approach until we get that unique website traffic up or more people know your brand, to then hopefully capitalize right past that initial funnel stage, maybe mid-funnel to lower funnel with high impact units. Not sure if that entirely answered the question. Obviously had to be a little vague because there's so many things that I'd want to know before kind of splitting out budget like that. But just some high level direction to think about. Next question we have here, do rich media ad units slow down page load? So great question. The one thing to keep in mind here is, if I understand your question correctly, this would still be within kind of the general programmatic space. So these aren't ads that say you're hosting on your own webpage, which if you're hosting a ton of video ads that are highly interactive, that would indeed slow down your page load. In terms of rich media or high impact, if there is any type of additional load time, it would be negligible. And it's not going to impact the consumer experience in terms of them waiting on anything in a noticeable manner. So you're pretty safe to use high impact mobile or rich media units in general if you're worried about page load time. Let's see here. Other questions from the QA. We've got, what type of audience targeting is available? So these are still bought programmatically, which means we're able to target in roughly every way that we're able to target with general display or video ads. The one caveat being, as we get more targeted, whether at a demographic level, right? The specific age bracket, set of interests, anything that you know about your consumer, or on the geographic lens, right? We want to hit one county in Alaska. As you get tighter and tighter on that, there is a higher chance of us running into scaling issues just based on available inventory. So to generally answer the type of audience targeting, it's pretty open. We can target essentially everything we can with standard programmatic. Caveat being, as we get more and more targeted, we have a higher chance of running into scaling issues with these types of unique units. What else do we got here? What verticals see the best performance with these types of ads? Great question. I would say anything e-commerce based, Nike obviously was a really, really engaging unit that you can see and understand almost immediately within that 30-second interaction, because it's clothing or shoes, which you get. Some of the other ones, like the Buzzballs example, obviously performance within a programmatic campaign is always going to be harder to measure when that experience takes you to an offline location. So I would say e-commerce or things that you're trying to drive online are likely going to see higher performance just in general. Also then depends on if you're comparing this to other channels. Channel by channel across verticals would be tough to kind of give baseline or any type of benchmark for. So I guess the best I can do to answer that question is say e-commerce brands, anytime that you're looking for the ability to market maybe multiple products in the same environment, very similar to what, say, a DCO product could do, that's probably going to be the best examples of when these units are really going to shine. I think that's all the questions I can see in the chat and or the Q&A section. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to throw in? Excellent. Well, if Michelle was still here, I'm sure she would promote that we're likely going to be doing a CTV OTT webinar next. I don't believe we've got a date settled for that one, but if you are interested, keep an eye out for it. Oh, nice. And we had 2 additional questions pop in. So let me jump back to those. What type of ad units would you suggest for a QSR? Interesting question. So it depends on what you're trying to do for a QSR, as well as what time period we're talking about here. For, I will say, a QSR in today's environment, hopefully you're able to promote some sort of delivery service. So being able to understand maybe wait times, or how far is the restaurant, away from me, and how quickly can I expect to get my food, or allowing a user to swipe up and input their order would be a really engaging and powerful high impact mobile unit. I'll say in regular times for QSR restaurants, right, post-pandemic here, the find a location feature, swipe up for the map, or tap and hold for a map, however you're getting people to understand, oh cool, here's where the nearest one is, let me head there. That'd probably be what I recommend. So current time, anything that you can do to make ordering online for delivery easier is probably going to be your best bet for high impact mobile. I'll say in a more standard time period, the map functionality incorporated into a unit is going to be the best bet. The last question that was added here, are there still brand safety capabilities? I hope that question is just, are we able to make sure that these are only being served in brand safe environments? To which the answer is absolutely. Again, we're still buying these in programmatic spaces, so we can work with a variety of partners, Double Verify, Pure 39, IAS, whoever it is you're used to using. We can layer on their standard, brand safety targeting and serve the ads just like we would anything else. Awesome. Well, we are right at 1:30. I want to thank everyone for jumping on. Some great questions from everyone. If you have any additional kind of high impact mobile questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to anyone at AUDIENCEX, and we'll hopefully set up some time to answer those questions more thoroughly. With that, I'll say please stay safe and sane. Don't forget to wash your hands, and hopefully we'll be seeing everyone again soon for our next webinar. Thanks, everybody.